What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
I'm Tom, the OG Fit Kid, the staple of the Turnbuckle Debate.
And our guest returning after a 54-week hiatus. We just figured that out. JONAH from Rewind Recap Relive. How's it going, man?
It's going good. Thank you for getting the name right. There's a lot of podcasters out there who try to say it. I'll even throw RVD on that list, and it's a long name, so it's hard to remember. But Rewind, Recap, Relive. Thank you so much for having me again. Yeah, 53, 54 weeks, whatever it is. I mean, that's a crazy amount of time. But it looks like nothing changed, though. Like, we're right back. I don't think anyone said – I think –
Yeah, man.
I'm a little more lower budget now. I think last time I was here, I had my backdrop. Today, it's just, the blurred background. But when you take a little hiatus, I took a little break from the interview game. So you got to cut back where you have to. But I've been doing exciting things. Just had my first interview since around the time I was on this show with Rob Van Dam and Ninja Mac. So that's up there now at Rewind, Recap, Relive, and a little cheap plug. But other than that, I've just been watching everybody's great work in the podcast community. Shout out to young Anthony, who comes on the Tavern often, right? And I'm ready to discuss these topics
right now.
A run in, right?
Dude, like RVD, huge get, but for all of our listeners who are GCW fans, Ninja Mac, that's an awesome tandem, dude. RVD and Ninja Mac. How was that? How'd that go down? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. So that was I actually reached out to RVD. Well, okay, I'll rewind a little bit. So first, what I wanted to do is have my 50 be a big one. I have 49 episodes up there, and 50 had to be better than, better in terms of just the pairing and everything. Not, of course, the hype, but so I was like, what better than a Hall of Famer? So I reached out to RVD again after having reached out to him a year ago. And he was just promoting his YouTube channel. And he said, if we could, promote the YouTube channel, then I'm on board. And he seemed to like the concept. As always, they never know who really they're getting paired up with, the legend or veteran of the two. Ninja Mac I reached out to through a mutual connection we have. And he was absolutely would love to. And yeah, them together, it's actually crazy because Ninja Mac just signed with Noah. And RVD just finished a tour with Noah, and they're both going back July 16th on the same show. So this was really cool that they have that to look forward to, and they had this opportunity to kind of get to know each other on this platform. And it's not actually, since starting the show, that episode, which was on June 25th, also my birthday, was actually the 2-year anniversary of the show. And in those 2 years, I like to say we have that has happened 3 times where guests from the show have met each other in person and have actually had like a relationship from the show to be able to get more advice in person, if the veteran's giving it to them there. And I just think that's so cool. Like that, to me, the aftermath of that is incredible, along with the actual interview itself. But yeah, that actually happened pretty quick. The interview itself, I remember getting the call that said, okay, everything's good to go. And it was from RVD, and it was telling me that it was good to go for tomorrow. And I think it was like 9 p.m. And I was like, all right, not sleeping. It's all questions. It's all Rob Van Dam for the next, 24 hours. And it was amazing. Yeah, it was really cool. And hopefully got a lot of cool stuff on the way too. Reaching out, the grind of the podcast wrestling interviewer, but we're reaching out, and we're going to try to get some more stuff going for sure. Happy to be back.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool.
Man, we're glad to hear that. You've been here before, so you kind of know the format that we go through. We have 3 topics into. We'll go 10, 15 minutes on each topic. We'll kind of limit what Tom has to say. So I always like to let people know that we limit that. I'm just kidding. Are you guys ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
Let's go. All right. First topic of the evening. Will recent accusations tarnish Vince McMahon's legacy, or is he the Teflon Don of WWE?
Man, I love that Vince is trotting his ass out there despite everything going on. I mean, the one allegation I really don't like is the rape thing. Like, if it was everything else,
No,
like, fine. But like, he's just going after. Look, Ric Flair looked at cancel culture in the eye, didn't back down. He's having his final match, and nobody's talking about the ring anymore. I think Vince is just trying to do the same thing, depending on what the board comes back with. I don't think anything's going to hurt Vince. He's almost like, Super Mario when he becomes invincible running through the game. That's how Vince feels that he is right now.
Yeah, here's my thing that makes this situation a little bit different than Ric Flair. I mean, a lot of people, I'm one of those people, look at Ric Flair as one of the greatest of all time. The Dark Side of the Ring came out, painted him in a pretty poor light, but he's just a wrestler at the end of the day. Vince is the leader of a company that has kind of like transcended just pro wrestling. I mean, WWE is a cornerstone company in not only America, but the globe, and I feel like some of the accusations getting thrown at Vince are troubling. Like, I mean, the rape allegation,
at least. Yeah,
exactly. The rape allegation, an old allegation that's kind of resurfaced in all of the recent stuff. We've got the hush money, the paralegal situation where he's paying women off, and there's rumors that was just the tip of the iceberg, that there's possibly more that haven't been disclosed. You're talking about a public company. This isn't a mom and pop private company anymore. Mm-hmm. So he's having to kind of answer to shareholders. That being said, the question is, will it tarnish his legacy, or is he the Teflon Don? I think it, with people who already have it out for WWE, I think they're going to use this as ammo to further their hatred of the evil empire and Vince McMahon. But I think there is a large section of WWE fans, pro wrestling fans, who I don't know if they're not taking it seriously, or it's Vince. Vince, it's kind of like, I relate it to like Michael Jackson. Like, Michael Jackson became this icon in just pop culture, not just music. And right. I think when all of those allegations against Michael Jackson came out, you had people that would just defend him till the end. It's almost like they're in denial. They don't want to accept the possibilities. And not to mention, you have the other kind of side of people saying, well, maybe these women coming out, they're just attaching themselves to this public grab for money. So who knows, but I don't think, when it's all said and done, when Vince is dead and 20 years have went by and you look back on Vince, I don't think this is what you're going to remember him for. Honestly, I think you're going to remember him for the WWE.
Yeah. To go off that, I think it was really well said too, because so when it came out, the original allegations, the current original allegations, the first thing I saw was I find it very interesting when big publications report on stuff involving the WWE and treat it like it's just any other, sports organization, because it's not. There's a checkered past, we all know, with the different eras that we've watched and grown up with. And for them to say, oh my gosh, could you believe like a CEO of a company, et cetera, could do something like this? Yes. Without it, it didn't take me 2 seconds. It's Vince McMahon. Like, have you not seen any of the storylines? Or clearly they haven't, but from, late Attitude Era, whatever you want to look at, I mean, into Ruthless Aggression, like, that was his character, for lack of a better sense. So yeah, I could absolutely see that happening. And I think that we all, as fans, like, I view Vince as like akin to something like a Walt Disney. I think he is one of the geniuses of our time in terms of what he's built and the legacy that he's going to leave behind. And I think people like that are more obsessed with what they do leave behind and what they build than their public image. Clearly, I don't think he cares about anything anyone ever has to say about him, you know, and it's very obvious he's just, you know, water down his back. So him coming out week to week, I think it's interesting. It's not what I thought he was going to do, but if that's what he just continues to do and he's just kind of going headstrong into it, as we know Vince does, right? I mean, what did he beat? God and the government. Those are the two people that are under his shoe in terms of wins. So I don't know. I think this is just one of those, you know, it's sad to say, like it should be treated as way more. We all know that. But what do I think is going to happen is that in a few months or a few years, just like Ric Flair, it's going to be one of those bumps that we look back on and we say, man, that's horrible. That is a bad thing. But he's Vince McMahon and he's just going to keep living his life. Yeah. I don't think it's going to affect him.
No, I don't either. I think to a non-wrestling fan, it'll leave a blemish on his name. That's what they'll hold on to. But as far as in the wrestling world, I think this is going to be something that'll just be glossed over once it's said and done. His legacy, I don't think it'll be tarnished.
How many times have we seen crazy shit happen in the wrestling business and fans just look the other way? And I'm not damning. I'm one of those fans, man. Like, you know, like I think there's some sort of sick loyalty to wrestling where it's feel a really
weird loyalty.
Yeah. It's a really weird loyalty where there's almost this us versus them mentality where you're like, I don't want the outside to take this man down. No matter how you feel about Vince, he's in the wrestling space that we love.
He was, you know, for lack of a better term, that's who he is. Like Vince McMahon is like a human embodiment of professional wrestling to all of us. So
and Jonah, you said something, you were talking about all these people being like, I can't believe a CEO would do that. And you were like, really? A president did that. Bill Clinton did that. Like anyone, anytime you're in a position of power and influence and billions of dollars, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You can use that. You know, that didn't shock me at all. And like you said, the character he portrayed during Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era, it almost made you like, no shit. Look what, you know, like he's himself cranked up to 11. A question I have for you guys is, you mentioned, you know, he's coming out on TV. And I think when he comes out on TV, it's almost like I'm not going in the shadows. I'm going to put myself out there and show that I'm not afraid. My question would be, with the paralegal, it's fine. But when you get what was it? The Wall Street Journal writing that rape article, you know, when you have something like that coming out, does it leave a bad taste in your mouth to see him coming out with such bravado when there's the Wall Street Journal writing articles like that about you?
I mean,
I would say so. Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I was going to say, yeah, I think that's where it kind of changed for me. With the paralegal allegations, it was bad. It left a bad taste. But when that further article came out, which I guess, what is that from? That's from how long ago was that exactly? I think that's before. No, but the paralegal is, but the second one, the allegation for rape. When was that?
That was the 80s with their female referee.
The original allegation, but the Wall Street Journal article is new.
It's new, right?
The article was resurfacing an old allegation, but the article that was written came after the paralegal, which is why some people are saying now that the paralegal thing came out, people are coming out of the woodwork to attach themselves onto this. So
I think it's getting deeper and deeper. Sadly, I don't think Vince is good because he's still like the owner, right? Like I guess if it gets bad enough, he could be forced out, but he's the one who's calling the shots in terms of like he's coming out because he wants to, right? And it is very creepy when you take into all of the accounts that happen, that he is coming out, and that the thing that stuck with me is that these commentators are forced to clap for him, you know, and it's like the fans, that's one thing, who are like still singing his song and everything, but the commentators are like, what a surprise, it's Mr. McMahon. And I'm like, really? Like, this is like when a dictator comes out, and like it's really weird.
It's a good point. I mean,
I noticed the other day, first thing I thought when I saw the picture of them at UFC, I'm like, oh, Stephanie's fine with her dad. She seems happy to be sitting next to him there. It's like, I wondered how she would have felt, you know, with him cheating on her mom, you know, but apparently doesn't look like there's any.
That was the other thing. Were they like, I know they're together on paper, Vince and Linda, but did they have like a marriage? Did they have an open marriage? What was the deal with that?
I think she knows. My guess is she knows everything.
That's the thing, man. It seems to me like this is something that's just hitting the public. Like, I'm sure this is things that have been dealt with by the McMahons behind closed doors, that they've been in the know of something with this for a while. And I don't know, man. I'm kind of, I don't like him being trotted out on TV. I like, if it was anything else, if they were coming after him, like steroid scandal type of stuff, or if it was anything else, I would jump and be like, good for you, Vince, facing down the angry mob. But when you get into a space like this, I think it's touchy. It's a very touchy area. And who are we to know? You know, like, who are we to know? We don't know the full story. There could be things that Vince and them know about, and that's why he doesn't have an issue putting himself out there. But to me, it smells of ego to me. It smells
of ego, and it's reminiscent of the I don't know if this was the president you were mentioning, but our previous president, it reeks of that, you know, and it reeks of just like wanting to portray yourself, you know, in the midst of the chaos that's surrounding you. And I don't know if it's definitely not necessary. And I think that if it's a great example that all these publications wrote up about it knowing nothing about wrestling. And so I think it's off of that. If these places, such as like an NBC, like Peacock, you know, if they pay closer attention to, you know, what WWE is, they might have a problem with it too. I'm shocked that none of these big corporations have looked and said, like, wait a second, like, that's a little, you know, like, why is he coming out after all this for a PG company that's very, very regulated? That's one of the biggest problems fans have with it, is how regulated it is. And the fact that he's, you know, they can't say strap instead of belt, but he can trot out after, you know, like, that's, I don't understand.
Well, I think a lot of it, and I'll let you go, Sneed, but I think a lot of it is the pro wrestling business in general, to me, has been looked at by the entertainment industry as the redheaded stepchild. Let them go play over in the corner. No one pays a lot of attention to this. If this was the head of Disney, if this was the head of Fox or ABC, NBC, Universal, any of these major entertainment companies, or if this was a head of a major like TV show, like a Game of Thrones, or the creator of Game of Thrones, or Sopranos, anything like that, if this would happen to a person of that level, it would be mainstream news. I feel like this was kind of a blip on the radar with the Wall Street Journal, and it kind of went away because no one really pays attention to wrestling. And we've seen it forever. You know, Vince dropping the N-bomb back in the roof. Yeah. No one made a stink of that. No one's dug that back up.
Which is mind blowing to me.
Bully Ray.
Nobody has.
Bully Ray and ECW dropping
all
homophobic, all of that stuff. No one talks about that. No one digs that back up. But in the entertainment industry, Kevin Hart, they dig up a 9-year-old homophobic joke on Twitter, and they try to crucify the guy when he's going to host the Oscars. So there's a double standard where pro wrestling gets away with a lot of shit that the rest of the entertainment industry cannot get away with.
Yeah, that's very true. And Vince knows, he's so entrenched in the wrestling world. He knows controversy creates cash.
Yep.
So when all of this is going on, what's he going to do? He's going to cash in on this ratings grab.
That's exactly what it was.
He's cashing in on a ratings grab and coming out on SmackDown and saying absolutely nothing.
Not a word. But apparently it did good, right? Ratings wise.
Huge rating.
I'm not a watcher a lot, and that got me to tune in.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
and it's crazy because you know those numbers are just going to go back to, you know, Fox, and they're going to say, oh, wow, they did well this week, and most of them not know why.
Right.
Yeah. That's why the debate question, I had to put Teflon Don in there, because for all you history buffs, you know, John Gotti, Teflon Don, he had this brazen bravado where I said I smelled ego with Vince. I smell an untouchable ego. Like, he feels untouchable. I feel like he thinks of himself like that. It's very, very Gotti-esque to me. But last thing I was just going to
say, not just him either. One thing I feel like we haven't touched on is like the backstage opinions of this from all the superstars. I mean, you look at the ones now who do, I'm sure, look up to Vince in a great light prior to these allegations. But you look at the ones back then, like the Undertakers, or I just heard a Chris Van Vliet interview with Road Dogg where he was like, "Oh, Vince is you know, God, right? He thinks he's for lack, yeah." And I think it's changed a little bit to where they don't like idolize him as much, the current superstars maybe, but it's still very much there where he is a leader of like an army, essentially.
He's a leader of men.
A leader of men.
And he leads with intimidation. How many like absolute bruisers, just ripped up, big, tough, mean bastards feared Vince McMahon?
Right.
You know, like he led that company with an iron fist, and people wanted to rally behind them.
Yeah.
My last thing, do you guys think that, you know, the Harvey Weinstein scandal, that was a man of major power, major influence? I mean, he started the careers of Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, Kevin Smith, all of these renowned filmmakers. The Miramax was one of the top Oscar bait production companies in Hollywood, and allegations came out against him. It started with one or two, and then it just cascaded into this big thing, and it toppled the man. Now he's sitting in fucking prison. You know, do you see that as a possible destination, or do you think we're not going to get to that point?
I just think with what we saw with Harvey, and then even with Bill Cosby, when it started to break, everybody started coming out accusing him. We're not getting a ton of people coming out accusing Vince. We've had the referee from the 80s, which we heard about before, and we just know the initial case. I would think if he really had this closet full, we've heard a lot more people coming out by now.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody have any final topic? Anything to say before we move on? Go ahead, Jonah. Sorry.
No, don't. It's fine. I do agree. I agree with what was just said. I think we would have seen more. Do I think that's a final destination? I don't think it is for him. If what was said in the 80s, that original allegation, proves to have some sort of validity to it, I don't know by legal standards if that's a risk to Vince at this point. But you know, if that's proven correct somehow, that's pretty disturbing. You know what I mean? I don't know if prison is that final destination, but it's definitely going to put him in a different light. I mean, all of this kind of already has, but it's gonna, I think for many fans out there, especially right now with their key demographic being children, I think it's going to put it in a different light for a lot of parents if that comes out and does make, you know, mainstream enough news. I don't know if they want their kids watching something like that. So
yeah, and I'm with you guys. I would be shocked if the seriousness of what was going on behind closed doors was to that level. It would be absolutely shocking to me. And I'm with Tom. I think if it was to the level of a Harvey Weinstein, his accusers and victims of what he did would be coming out of the woodwork, because now's the time. It's in the public eye.
Right.
Now's the time. And the fact that there isn't more, I think, is a good sign for Vince, that maybe this was just a one-off situation. And like you said, Jonah, I mean, the rape allegations, if they prove to be true, fuck Vince, take him down. That's bullshit. That's a disturbing act. I think he should be punished to the highest extent of the law. But if it's all bullshit, I think, you know, he's the Teflon Don, man. I think it's going to have to be cold, hard facts to take Vince McMahon down.
Yeah, I agree. The last thing I noticed today, if you saw Paige's little article in the Players Tribune, talking about women's empowerment, and she thanked everybody at WWE for her time there because her contract's up now. Not one mention of Vince in there.
Wow.
So,
That's
interesting.
yeah, so.
Wow. All right. Are you guys ready to move on our second topic?
Let's do it.
All right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Second topic of the evening. Will signing Logan Paul to WWE prove to be worth it? After the performance at WrestleMania, do you think he actually takes it seriously? Now, Jonah, this is the question you brought to the table, so I'll defer to you to go first.
So, yeah, I think that where to even start with that? So first, his performance at WrestleMania, I think, was fantastic. I was lucky enough to be at that Mania, and I watched that after actually running into Logan Paul. Have to mention, ran into Logan Paul beforehand. Good guy running into him. But anyway, in the actual match itself, I was shockingly pleasantly surprised by his performance. And if that's the trend they're going, and of course we did have another one. Who was it? It was Knoxville on that too, and that was more fun and games, of course, type of match. But Bad Bunny, who loves it so much that he entered the Royal Rumble, and now Logan Paul, who actually was really, really good, a great heel when he was up there and made that face and dropped the frog splash. I mean, that was beautiful heel work that I feel like many superstars would take years to develop. That he just has that smug persona. Of course, he already has like a past. Everyone knows who he is, but just made that it was perfect to me. So I think it will be worth it. Now, what I'll say is somebody like Ronda, who at this point, for all intents and purposes, I just said this the other night watching Money in the Bank, Ronda's a WWE superstar. Like, for a while, I thought they were going to treat her more like a special attraction. But I mean, she's on SmackDown, right? I think she's having matches weekly, maybe not weekly, but bi-weekly. She'll have a match on a SmackDown. And she was up until Liv, which amazing, by the way, but she was champion, and that's huge to me. So, and I don't even want to go down the road of Logan Paul possibly becoming WWE champion. What I will say is I was on, I think it was like Snapchat, and it was like a publication completely unrelated to WWE that usually picks up just trendy things in the mainstream pop culture, whatever you want to say. And Logan Paul was there, and it was like, Logan Paul is a wrestler ? And I was like, wow, that's huge that I'm seeing stuff with WWE where it never is, or it hasn't been for a long time. So, and also people who are totally out of the sphere of wrestling, just in my close circle of friends even, are like, oh wow, I heard Logan Paul is doing like wrestling now, he's with WWE. And I think just that word of mouth alone is priceless for WWE when they haven't had word of mouth like that in forever with people who don't pertain to like Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Anyone beneath that, it's really been hard to get the name out there. So I do think it'll be worth it. I don't think they should push him into title territory. I think he should be used as a special attraction myself. And I just think we should also see what happens at SummerSlam before we make any hard decisions. But as in like worth it, I don't know what the details of the contract were, but I think whatever they paid for him, yeah, I think it was the right move.
Yeah, I think it depends on how they use him, whether it proves to be worth it for them or not. They are definitely buying a mainstream superstar and millions of eyes,
hundreds of millions of followers on social media.
They're definitely buying that, but from what I understand, it's through 2023 that he's doing the premium live events or whatever they are calling them now. So from what I understand, that's what it is. So if they're not using him to build up stars to that are going to be there after him, then I don't think it'll be worth it long term, because they're just going to buy the people that are going to stay while he's there. But if they use him to build up stars, then it'll be worth it. If not, then that's just time that people who could be being built is losing.
Yeah. What do you think, Tom?
I don't really care about Logan Paul, but
I don't care about him either.
I'm not the age demo they're going after by bringing him in. They're going after the younger guys, the younger kids who are on social media who are following him, trying to get new fans in. So, I mean, if you could get a whole bunch of new fans in by doing this, I mean, I guess in the end of the day, that's what you want. You want to bring new eyes to the product. So I guess if it gets some new eyes to the product and more people turning into wrestling, I guess it would be worth it. But like, man, I don't even think they're going to get this guy over as a face. The way they booed him, they were so happy when The Miz turned on him. Like the Miz was supposed to be the heel there.
Moment.
Yeah,
that was the us versus them mentality to me when he turned on Logan, and everyone watching for Logan was just watched Miz take him out. And they're, who is this guy that just slammed this dude in his face? We're all like, that's Miz, like that's the original Logan Paul.
That's a great second point. But yeah, like it's so funny because most of the people I talk to can't stand him. So it's like, I think, is he just like one of those social media stars that people just love to hate and watch, kind of like the Kardashians back in the day? Or does he really have a strong following of people who love him?
He has a very strong following of people. I mean, I think he has like 20-some million followers on Instagram. He has over 6 or 7 million on Twitter. But he got big on YouTube. His YouTube
he started
following
on Vine.
Yeah, I remember that.
He started with Vine. So,
but I think a lot of what Sneed said, I tend to agree with as far as like, what's his long-term situation with WWE. Now, I feel like if, like you said, Jonah, if he comes in and he's just kind of a special attraction guy, I think that would be good for WWE to kind of expose Logan Paul's fan base to a bunch of new young eyes. But as far as long-term impact in the company, like, would it be I guess it would be a positive, even if he's just doing those special events, the tentpole events and coming in and bringing his fans in. But to me, it's only a true success if he commits long-term. Like Ronda Rousey, I know she left to have a kid and everything, but when she came in, she was there, man. Every week she was a part of the roster. She was doing house shows, she was in it. Now, if Logan signs up for that, and he can become a part of the future of their young roster, like some of their younger guys, and you're throwing him in the mix with the riddles and the theories, 5-6 years down the line, then it's like, man, that he could really elevate WWE in a big, big way if you put a title on him 5 years down the line, 3 to 5 years down the line, because I think he was extremely impressive at WrestleMania, in my opinion. He looked so comfortable in that ring. Like,
yeah.
And a lot of times, you see guys come in and, the Bad Bunnies, the Johnny Knoxvilles, the Tyson Furies, all of those guys, you can tell they're kind of new. I mean, Bad Bunny did his thing, but he still had a little bit of awkwardness to him, just a little bit. He put himself out there, but he looked like he wasn't a wrestler. Logan Paul, to me, moved and looked like a green pro wrestler. But he looked like a pro wrestler to me. I could totally see him being a guy. I'm not the biggest fan of him. Honestly, I'm not a fan. He's just one of those guys I don't really pay attention to.
Yeah.
But I think he could make an impact if it's long-term. If it's a short-term, just special attraction guy, it'll make an impact, but I don't think it'll have legs to it like it would if they really pushed him as a pro wrestler.
I think that background. Yeah, I was just the comfortability. I think that he has that background with boxing
and wrestling. He was a high school, college wrestler, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting from what I saw. I believe it was 3 years is what he signed. So that's not crazy long term, but it's more than just a few one-offs. Hopefully, that's what we could hope. But there's two things that I thought were cool. Was one, and he did a video, I think at the headquarters or something, of him actually doing, like, he vlogged the signing, and he said to Triple H and Steph that they are his first bosses. And I find something like that crazy because with someone like him, like an influencer, it's definitely all about his brand. So I think it's really up to him. Like, he clearly put a lot of thought into this. He's an entrepreneur, right? Like, he himself has made himself millions and continues to all the time. So when he made that decision to actually sign a contract, it must have been going through his head that this is important to him. It could have obviously been the money, but like he didn't have to do that. We know it. Like he is one of the biggest stars. He's bigger notoriety wise than probably half the company, if not more, you know? So he didn't have to do what he did, but he did it for a reason. Now I've heard that he's always wanted to be a wrestler since he was a kid. Like he's holding up now that could be played up just for the match or the moment, whatever. But if that's the truth, I could see the passion, you know, getting to him and saying, hey, I have a crazy life. You know, I'm very fortunate for what I've been able to grow, and I'm going to try this out for a little bit. I hope it's longer than that, but it's really up to him and what he wants his brand to be long term. Like if he's there for more than 5 years, people are going to just start thinking Logan Paul, that he's a WWE guy or whatever. You know what I mean? It's going to stop being Logan Paul, the crazy whatever we think he is. Because to me, that I guess to circle back, that's what I think of Ronda Rousey now. I'm like, oh, she has this crazy cool past, but she's a WWE superstar now. Like that's just what Ronda Rousey is. So it's up to what he wants his brand to be, what he thinks is best for his fans. I know he has so many projects going on, so I don't think he'll ever be that typical WWE superstar that we're used to, but he could definitely be something. He could definitely be something, I think.
I think it's a great sign too that a guy, like, let's be honest, WWE, as far as like reach and popularity, it's not going to be that much big. Like he is popular without that company.
Oh,
he is rich without that company.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's coming in and signing a 3-year deal, to me, it's not like he's gaining fortune and popularity from it. Like he already had that. So to me, that is a good sign because he's doing it for the love of it. This is a hard fucking business, man. It beats your body up. Most people can put up with the hard business of it because they're trying to become famous. They're trying to get rich. With a guy who's coming in famous and rich already, that bodes well to me because it seems like he is a fan. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if they bring in just a fraction of all those followers he has, and they stick around, it's a success. Yeah. I'm just going to say it right now. I can't wait for WrestleMania 39, Logan Paul versus Goldberg. Yes.
But they can use him too to build up so many stars.
Yep.
They can use, like, if they use him correctly, they can make superstars. Like, not to go into the next question. I mean, we can, but next generation superstars can be made with him.
Yeah. Even if it's just like the angles, not even matches per se, but being in a ring with him and going face to face in promos, or, you know,
just all you need.
That's all you need. And then people put eyes on Logan Paul. They see the person he's standing across from. Oh, who's that guy? I think you're dead on, Sneed. I think he could help build some young guys.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sneed. And I'm just going to say one thing to this, too, is I think he needs to be a heel. I don't think there's a world where he's a face, just like I don't think Miz should have ever been a face or should ever be a face again. Like, these are heels. And I know that that's their rivalry they want to do right now is him and Miz, but he is not a face. He's just not. He's such a natural, like, he's got that, what is it, like the shit-eating grin. Like, he is just a heel. Heel all the way.
People are going to hate him.
And he has so much to pull from. If he starts cutting promos about how he has money, he doesn't need this. He's bigger. I mean, come on, it's built in.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready to move to the final topic?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. Final topic of the evening. Can Austin Theory and Riddle be the next generation main eventers to carry WWE?
Yes. I've liked what I've seen from Theory, especially the last couple of weeks. In the beginning, when they started pushing on him, I didn't see it. But he's turned a switch lately. He's different. He's got a different attitude in his promos, in the ring, on the mic. Like I like what I've seen from him lately because in the beginning, I didn't think he had it at all. So I don't know if it has, like I said this on the Raw down this week, I said, I don't know if it has anything to do with Triple H being back, if he's had a talk with him, if he's kind of like just trying to get that killer instinct in him. But like the switch is there. He's good. Like we see Riddle is naturally a great face that people want to cheer for him. Like it's there, guys. You have these two young guys. They were the two at the end of the Money in the Bank match up on that ladder together. Like let's start this now. Let's start this and run with it and let it last for years. Like Rock Austin, they can main event a few WrestleManias if done right. Like this could actually be a future that they've been terrible at building in the past. Like here we go. Let's strap it on and let's go, guys. It's time to do something different. And you've got these two young guys. I know Riddle's a little older, but 35 is young in the wrestling business. We see guys going mid 40s to 50s, like still peak performance. So yeah, let's go. I'm ready. Let's do it.
I'm with you, Tom. I think this is the future of your company. And I think you're onto something too with the Triple H thing. Triple H coming back. I think I would be very shocked if it wasn't Triple H whispering in Theory's ear to give him a little bit of an edge. I think Vince was kind of like giving him that showman quality, and Triple H is, hey, you can be goofy, but you still have to, people have to believe you can kick someone's ass. Yeah. And we're starting to see, I mean, that face-to-face he had with Lashley on Raw, I thought that was great. I thought I like Theory a lot. I think people say this a lot, but I think there's a lot of credence in it. Is I do see a lot of John Cena in Theory, but I see other things too. But there is that, you know, the physique, you can just see Vince seeing this guy and being like, yeah, there's something here. And with Riddle, man, Riddle's barely scratched the surface of what I think his matches, his work rate, top 2-3 in the company as far as putting on stiff, believable matches. You put those two guys against each other in a main event, I'm there. And one guy we're forgetting about, for me, that I think you got to throw in this next gen main eventer situation for WWE, Montez Ford. Guy has been packing on mass. They split that tag team up. I think he has the it factor to him where he could be a huge star, like a huge transcendent star for that company. And I think all of this is happening because the injuries. I think we're seeing these guys get pushed a little bit because they're like, oh man, Cody's out. Roman's kind of taking a back seat a little bit. Brock,
I don't appreciate, by the way. I would future topic. Does Roman deserve to be a part timer like Brock? I don't think he has the hype yet, but that's a separate issue.
100% there.
I agree.
In the back of my head, but
yeah, I think they're looking around and being like, man, these guys are taking injuries. We need the next crop. It happened in Ruthless Aggression when John Cena marched out and slapped the shit out of Kurt Angle. You know, they were like, hey, some of these guys might be leaving soon, might be retiring soon, might be getting too old, you know, so we need that next crop. I hope they're truly seeing it. I hope we're seeing a true push for the next stage of WWE.
Yeah, I agree. I think admittedly, I'm not a big WWE follower. I don't follow and watch the product consistently. But when I do tune in to watch, it's Austin Theory, Riddle. It's these guys that I'm tuning in that I care about watching. Like, these are the guys that I care to read about what's going on with them, and I'll catch their segments. So yeah, I think that holds a little, I think that says a little bit about them, that they can and should be the next generation main eventers.
It's fresh. If for nothing else, it's fresh faces. It's fresh faces and fresh bodies and guys who can lay it on the line and not have to kind of keep it in first gear because of their age and they can't work the way they used to. Like, these guys are going full tilt. It's fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Theory is fantastic. You say John Cena, and I agree with you. Definitely like that Ruthless Aggression. I see so much Randy Orton. Ironically, that we're talking about Riddle and Theory. I see so much of Orton in Theory. And when it comes to Riddle, I think Theory, obviously, what is he? He's 24. He's got so much time left to go and mold into what he truly is. And I think he's on the right trajectory. So yes, to him is the future. When it comes to Riddle, I see him as the much nearer future. He is incredible, and I think a lot of things were happening with him to where I think he was put in the right placement personally as as to be that guy in terms of whether it be his personal life. I think he's had didn't he get separated something recently?
Yeah, Riddle
from his wife. And, you know, of course you could see that. I'm sure there was unrelated to the business or maybe related, but like Riddle seems like he is just this main event talent waiting to get that push, and putting him with Orton and having him just be able to go on that ascent to the top. Like, I just think it's right there, clear as day, that Riddle's going to be like WWE champion in no time. And he's got the hype. He's got the legitimate background to him with the UFC, right? And on not only that, along with the stuff in his personal life, all the the conflict he had with guys like Brock and Goldberg. We heard about this guy before we really even saw him exposed, and I think that's always a good thing. You know, conflict is in the wrestling industry. I think that's, as long as it's not anything too bad, if you're getting your name out there with guys like Brock and Goldberg, and the word is that you want to fight them and take them on, like I saw that as like, wow, I got to look out for this Riddle guy. And as soon as I saw him, I was automatically impressed. And I think he's building relationships with like the right people in the company too. Again, obviously Randy Orton, but all the stuff he does with like John Cena and so on, he's definitely, you could tell he's liked. He's one of those guys that they want to put their all into. And I think Theory is, I mean, it's obviously Theory's part of that crop too, with what they did with Vince and Austin. I mean, that's, how could you get bigger than that? When I saw that with Theory, and saw what they were doing, having him in the middle of a Vince and Austin, and of course McAfee, another mainstream guy. Oh my God. Like both those guys, I think who picked this topic?
Chad
did.
Yeah.
Chad. Yeah. Those are the two greatest ones to go with, I think, personally. And Ford is there too. Once they split up that team, Ford's going to the moon. I'm trying to think if there's tons of guys who have the potential, but I don't know if they're going to put their all into it. WWE, put their all into pushing them as they are, those three right there. Personally, big Kevin Owens guy. I love Owens. I think anything he touches is gold, but I don't know if he is. I feel like he's more of like the present. Owens could definitely do a lot more, but I think they're using him right now to, if they have a storyline that they don't have full confidence in, put Owens in there. I.e. Ezekiel right now. Yeah.
Dude, that's one of the best stories.
Yeah, I love that so much. When I saw Ezekiel come out, I was at that Raw After Mania, which was, it wasn't the best Raw After Mania. Sadly, it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best to me. But when he came out as Ezekiel and he and Kevin Owens automatically was like, wait, are you Elias? We've seen it so many times before where they're like, they'll put up that fourth wall in front of us where us as fans are like, what do you mean? That's, I don't know, insert any guy from like 2009 to 2015, but you know, that period, but that like repackaged time period. But when Owens recognized it, I was like, this is good. This is in on the joke, WWE, which is so
Kevin Owens was the voice of the fans.
Yeah.
Like many times they've repackaged a guy and just said, hey, we're not going to acknowledge that. Forget the old, this is the new character. And Kevin Owens was the disgruntled fan being like, no, you're Elias. I know who you are. It was perfect. It was perfect.
So well said. Yeah. Yeah. It gave us the voice. Exactly. So Owens, for me, if you said what guy is the future, I go with Owens first, but I know that he's not, he's just such a storied career already. The real future is definitely somebody like Theory. I think it's Riddle instantly, though. You know, give it another year. Look at where Riddle is. That's what I say.
Yeah, I think Kevin Owens is, he's the here and now.
Yeah.
Like he's been at it a while, and I hope they elevate him a little bit more. I hope he's not kind of got into that Mick Foley zone where he had a couple short little reigns and now he's just going to do that for the rest of his career. I would like to see him elevated. But man, like Theory and Riddle, dude, I just really think they're the next guys. They are the next guys. The only thing I worry about with Riddle, I know he's a little older, and like you said, Tom, they don't hit their prime, but he is a bit of a wild man. Like he thumbs his nose up at the establishment a lot. I've never seen him as a company guy. Like even in his UFC career, he got kind of cut because of smoking pot, and Dana White cut him, and he went hard on Dana White. He almost entered the pro wrestling space as a fuck you to Dana White. Like I can make something of myself. I have star potential, but he is someone Theory, I see franchise player, company guy. Riddle, I see contract situation comes up. He could play the field. I feel like Riddle is a guy who would go for the money and not have a loyalty to the company. And just to comment on what you said, Jonah, about all the beef he had with, the Lesnars, Goldbergs, even Seth Rollins, I think at one point said he wouldn't work with him. And I think back to things you hear from JR, things you hear from Bruce Pritchard on their podcasts. When the big boys are shitting on a new guy coming in, it's because they see a threat. They see a star. They see a guy coming for their spot.
Right.
And I think
actually taking it seriously.
Yeah. I think that's why, because what's going to help Riddle being in a ring with Lesnar, being in a ring with Rollins, and for them to be like, I'm not working for that guy. Essentially, you're putting the brakes on their push. You're putting the brakes on them being able to elevate by not being in a ring with you. So I think that's a great sign when you see superstars shitting on a young guy. It's because they fear that their spot is going to be taken.
That's a great point.
And going off of that, that wild man mentality he has, very reminiscent of a young Randy Orton from what we've heard and what we've seen. So I think it's I don't think there was a better pairing. And I'm sure you guys have heard how it actually happened as like a joke. It wasn't even, an intentional thing. That I think Riddle said it as a joke and it just kind of took a life of its own. But there's not a better pairing in the wrestling industry right now, in my eyes, than that mentor, rising star kind of thing that they have going on, and that Orton has seen and made these mistakes himself. 100%. And I don't think he's going to let Riddle go down that path, just like Triple H tried to kind of rein him in and didn't let him go down that path too much, at least, so that Orton is who he is today. So I hope we see it. Yeah, I see Riddle. That wild man mentality could clearly go in like many directions, but if you have someone guiding you and leading you, especially what is he, the third most world champion in that company being Orton, it doesn't even need to put an accolade to it. He's Randy Orton. If you have Randy Orton leading you, you're on the right path, I think.
That's the smartest thing they've ever done, because like you said, they put him with a guy who was a known troublemaker, who has matured and became a true locker room leader. I mean, he just celebrated 20 years in WWE. You're putting him with a young guy who kind of has those things, who he can relate to. And Orton learned from the best. He was under the tutelage of Triple H and Ric Flair when they were in Evolution. Yeah. I think that's the best step they could have took to kind of keep him locked in and to keep him maybe more of a company guy, kind of get that company credo into his blood where he feels like a WWE guy. Cause I think that's my only concern with Riddle, is him playing the field. Not to say if somebody throws the bank at Theory, he wouldn't jump too. At the end of the day, all these guys are after a big paycheck. That's what it's all about. But yeah.
I mean, before we wrap, one thing I'd like to see him do, because I like Ezekiel, I miss Elias. I'd love to see him put them together as a tag team. Yep, I think that'd be fun. Anybody have anything else to say before we wrap up?
Nope.
I'm here for it. The new era beginning now.
Here for
WWE.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I find myself finding the weekly shows more and more digestible, I think, as of late. So I'm happy with where it is now. And I think, these are some great topics. I like dishing out with you guys for sure.
Yeah. I think the future, as long as they do the right thing and don't trot out Goldberg to hold a title, like I feel like they have an incredible foundation of young talent. So real quick before we leave, just a round robin question, no debating, just a quick answer. We may have talked about this, but I feel like the waters are a little different now. Who is going to take the title off of Roman Reigns? Just your first gut reaction.
Cody Rhodes.
Cody.
You go. Okay, Cody. I'll go Cody, but I have to put a wild card. Sorry, I want to say The Rock, and I just, I know it's crazy. I want him there at 39, though. I don't know what happens after that. I don't know what happens after that. What'd you say?
I've been beating that drum that this whole bloodline thing is all for nothing unless it ends with The Rock. You have to have Rock.
It writes itself.
Yeah. It has to happen, but I'm going to throw a wild card. I don't think Roman's going to hold that belt until Cody gets back. I'm going to throw a wild card and say they pull a crazy ass move and Theory steals the title off of Roman.
It can happen.
It makes a lot of sense if Theory does that in a 3-way match. He comes in, they could keep Roman's not being pinned clean, and they could still have a big match with The Rock at WrestleMania. It doesn't have to be a title match. It's still going to be a huge match, and you still get a title match on top of that.
Yeah.
Ooh,
could be fun.
It could be fun.
What a way to make a guy.
Definitely be fun. What they just did at this. Oh yeah, so I was just gonna say if what they just did at this Mania didn't put him in people's minds enough, that'll. Oh my God, there's so many good opportunities, and I like that. I like when there's a lot of roads, and we're not thinking of the obvious.
Rollins is another one. He has Roman. Yeah. He has Roman's number. Rollins is always
absolutely has Roman's number. Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, Jonah, it was great having you on, dude. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Definitely. So we're Rewind Recap Relive, or I think you can see it right here at R3Jonah on Twitter, at Rewind Recap Relive everywhere else. I mean, this was incredible. Seriously, 53. Hopefully, it's not 53 more weeks. We'll try to cut that down, maybe in half.
Yeah, we have to.
Fun. It's amazing. It's a great show you guys got here. I think everyone should watch it. I'll tell everyone to check out this episode and many more for sure. And had a great time. Let's see what happens with this crop of talent they have. Seriously.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap us up for this edition of the Turnbuckle Debate. Make sure you guys are following us at theturnbuckletavern.com for all your tavern needs. We do have a couple of seconds left. This is the portion of the show. Get your shit in, Tom.
Forget about me, guys. Tune in to Fig Night tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Jeremy Padawa is our guest. You don't want to miss it. The Fig God.
All right. Court is dismissed.